Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas. In this episode, I'm going to cover, is Illinois a tax lien state or a tax deed state? I'm also going to give you a little information, some tips on how to make money. So newcomers make a lot of mistakes, and I'll cover that as we close out. Okay, is Illinois a tax lien state or a tax deed state? You're in for a big surprise. Illinois pays 3% for every month that a tax lien certificate is outstanding. 3 times 12 is 36% interest on your money if you buy a tax lien in the state of Illinois. So why would you want to go anywhere else? You wouldn't. Now, in the past, these auctions took months, but now everything's going online. For example, Cook County in Illinois, when they wanted to sell the tax lien certificates years ago, every tax lien is an individual auction. So they would show up in a big auction room with 3x5 cards, and they would read the property number and wait for a bid. Now, the bids could go up to the point where you could make 36%. Now they do all that online. Let's go on and talk a little bit more about this tax lien certificates and how do they work. So if you just tuned in and this is your first time, well, tax lien certificates are issued on properties where the property owner, whether it's a ranch, a farm, a house, whatever it might be that's privately owned, when the taxes are not paid, the local government will issue a tax lien certificate. Now, when they issue that, they'll have many that they make. There'll be thousands of these certificates. For example, I mentioned Cook County earlier. It's not unusual for Cook County to have 100,000 certificates that are available. That means 100,000 property owners in Cook County did not pay their property tax. The government needs money, so they're going to auction those certificates. Thousands available all across the state of Illinois. They pay up to 36%. Now, if you haven't been exposed to this before, you need to understand this is a very low-risk investment. You can't give money to Ted Thomas. I'm an educator. I'll teach you how to do it. But basically what happens is when you raise your hand at an auction or you do it online, either way, you're going to invest with the government, and then you'll get your check back from the government. So that's going to make this a predictable, certain, and secure investment. Now, how is it secured? It's secured by the property. Now, that simply means if you didn't get paid on a tax lien certificate, you would get the property. Now, how on earth is that going to happen? Well, it's going to happen by state law. The legislature makes the law, the local county administers the law, and guess what happens? They sell the certificate. If you haven't gotten paid on the certificate in the time it's due, well, then they're going to tell you, go ahead and take the property. And you will be able to, by law, take that property. And what did you pay? Well, you only paid the back taxes. Now, whenever a tax auction takes place, whether it's a tax lien certificate auction or a tax deed auction, whenever those auctions take place, what happens? The mortgage is wiped out. Now, I don't wipe out the mortgage. The local government wipes out the mortgage because what they've done is they've noticed the bank, they've noticed anybody that's on title and said, look, we're going to take this property, we're going to seize the property for non-payment of taxes. So when they seize the property, you're going to end up with that property and you will only have paid the back taxes plus any fees to get the thing closed up. This is a dynamite investment. Anybody can do it. You could start with $50. You could start with $500. You could start with $50,000. It doesn't matter. You can buy tax lien certificates in half of the counties in the United States. That means there will be millions of certificates available. You could buy those certificates online. So today, with answering the question, is the state of Illinois a tax lien certificate state or is it a tax deed state? Well, we're here to learn that it's a tax lien state, but it pays more than any other state of all the states in the United States. It pays 36% if it's annualized over a period of years. That means you can make 3% a month. So if you had a tax lien certificate that paid you in 90 days, you would make 9%. Now compare that with the local bank that's paying 1%, and many banks are even paying less than 1%. Well, people ask me this question. They say, Ted, I don't have a lot of cash laying around. Can I use a credit card? Well, let me give you a quick example because you'll love this example. So I have one of my coaches that's worked for me now for about 10 years. And when I taught him how to do it, he said, well, Ted, I'm in Michigan and I can buy using a credit card. I said, no, you can't do that. And then months later, he bought 60 properties in 6 years and he used a credit card and he sold every one of them on a contract of sale. That means he never went to the bank. His clients never went to the bank. So he could buy a property, meet you in the driveway and sell it that afternoon. Bought it with a credit card, sold it with a contract of sale. All right, so when you buy one of these tax liens or tax deeds, they all are terminated on a certain date. In other words, that's your payday. Now, when are you going to get paid? Well, in Texas, they only have 180 days to pay you. If they don't pay you, you get the property. In Arizona, for example, it could go 3 years, a new tax certificate each year. And yes, you would have to pay it, but at the end of 3 years, you'd get the property. In Florida, it's 2 years. So you never want to go to a tax lien or a tax deed auction without reading the rules and looking when you're going to get paid. Okay, so let's talk about a few mistakes that I don't want you to make. That's important. Mistake number one, don't buy a tax lien certificate without looking at the property. And so thousands of investors, I watch them do it. They'll have a list of all the certificates. They just go and they kind of randomly pick one, and they see the number, and they buy that certificate. They send their money to the government, so that's a pretty safe thing to do. They don't have to worry about that. But they haven't looked at the property. So what if they get there and it's next to an oil refinery? Or what if it was in a place where they had a chicken farm right next door? They don't smell too good in the summertime. So you really don't want to buy any tax lien certificate without looking at the property. Now, mistake number two that I watch many investors make, this is an even bigger one, and this one is they buy, and they might buy a tax lien or a tax deed. They don't have to worry about the mortgage because that's been wiped out. However, they haven't looked at the property, so they don't have an exit strategy. So let me give you a little example of that. If the property is worth $100,000 and you bid $95,000, there's not too much margin. So you want to look at the property. If you looked at it and say, well, this is a pretty decent property, and you could buy it for, say, 20 cents on the dollar. Well, now it's a $100,000 value, and you bought it for $20,000. You've got a lot of margin there. So I would tell you bought it low, sell it low, and get rid of it, turn it into a cash flow. But the point is, if you haven't looked, you might be one of those people that gets all excited in the room, and it happens all the time. Auctions can take place in a big room, or they can take place online. The ones online, people get in trouble because they want to beat that fictional bidder that's over there bidding in some other place, which, I mean, the person could be in Japan bidding and you don't know where they are. But the point is, you want to make sure that you've looked at the property or you've had someone look at it for you. Now, I don't have time on this video, but I will cover it on another video and show you exactly the steps you should take to look at a property. So if you want more information, I created a mini course for all of you. It's free. All you have to do is decide you want it, and I'm going to put a link below. So it's a free mini course, teach you about tax liens, tax deeds. Takes about an hour, and it's below me on this video.